Thank you, Ajoke. That was very, very, it was actually an eye-opener to some people, saying that in the Bible is only when adultery comes in, that's when you have to separate. The lady says separation, then you come back. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think what my response to what we just watched is it's very simple. I like to look at the good side of things.
Okay.
Marriage is good. I still want to repeat that. There is a great benefit in marriage. But I want to respond to that we live in a culture that is very secretive. Most of the problems that people come up with in marriage are things, in fact, that's why I said earlier on about premarital counseling. There are things that were obvious things before two people get into marriage. Premarital counseling, with all its benefit, will expose. There's something that is called the family of origin. Everybody, that means the environment that you and I grew up. There are things we were exposed to which has shaped our value, which has shaped our mindset. If, for example, I give you this, if I get married at the age of 30 and my wife is 28 years old, that's 28 plus 30, that's 50 years of differences, values and all that. So when two people carry those things, we call them baggages anyway, and they carry it into the subject of marriage, sometimes communication becomes a problem. Some things, unresolved bitterness in people's heart can play into when you begin to live closely with someone. And because these things are reoccurring in our daily life, we come to a point where some people exhibit violence. My take on all that, we are not used to counseling in our own culture. We are not used to letting in people into the affairs of the marriage or what happens. My take is that when you begin to see traces of violence, speak out. My trace is that when you begin, and let
me cut you on this. But they said that marriage is just for the both parties. If anything is happening, like I told you earlier on, that I was raised by my grandmother, and she told me that don't allow two people, you know, the third party, to come into your marriage. So speaking out of violence, don't you think you're already exposing your marriage to the world?
That's the interpretation. For us in Africa, that's the interpretation. But in the workplace, we all have people we are accountable to. We all have mentors. And I believe that word mentorship means there is somebody somewhere we all admire, we're looking up to. Every young footballer has an older footballer. So everyone who is into marriage should also have, from the start of the marriage, I mean, there must be like a discussion between two people getting married. We see this person. It may be someone who has gone the journey ahead of one. It may be someone who we are the same path, but their story inspire. We need to compare notes. That's called accountability. That's called mentorship. It doesn't mean our culture wait until there is a problem. It doesn't mean there is a problem when you seek counsel. We don't seek counsel around here. We don't seek for advice, good advice. I mean, we tend to do it in other areas, maybe because we are supposed to be marked for appraisal, for promotion. But when it comes to the subject of marriage, because it might interest you that this marriage thing is the institution that you get the certificate. It's like a school, but you get the certificate before you enter into the school. This marriage thing, it might also interest you that I don't know how many women were actually, or men that were actually, they sat them down to tell them about the institution of marriage. So we just like we do for other things, we read medicine, we read law, we prepare ourselves, we go through school. The same thing. If we don't prepare ourselves for marriage because of differences in background, and it manifests in different forms. Some violence, some abuse, some whatever it is. But counseling will expose this thing. When you talk to people, even without having problem, it's been recommended by psychologists and the way we live our life that every year, every married couple should plug in their marriage on the rating. check out how your communication skill is, how your sex life is, how your money, how you deal with money issue, and then in a peculiar culture like Africa, how you relate, your relationship, your social skill is. By doing that, it means you are exposing yourself to learning, you are gaining knowledge, which will invariably cover up for the knowledge that we didn't acquire before we get married.
Let's talk about violence now in marriage.
Okay.
It's something that's been going on for a long time. A lot of people mentioned on the streets about the 2 lawyers that the wife had to stab the husband, and right now she's in the prison. So what is your take on violence in marriage? Should we see a counselor, like you said? Should we go for a divorce or not speak out?
Okay, I say this to you, Sabina, again, that we live in a very secretive society. Because we live in a very secretive society, there are some things we regard as being personal issues. But hey, look, my brothers, my sisters out there, violence is not good. For every violent action, there is an history. Some people, violence actually is like someone is reacting to, it's like a volcano. Someone has maybe their parents, while growing up as little as age 4, age 3, because if you trace this history of violence, it can be traced back to the family of origin. Sometimes someone lived with an uncle, with an auntie. There are certain things that are just bottled up. And so when they get into marriage, which is another form of close proximity, in the family unit, it's close proximity. So someone has seen their father abuse their mom, or stayed with an uncle and the uncle abused the auntie all through the life. So there are certain things that are formed. We call them mindset. We call them strongholds. Some people have cultural coloration. A woman must be asked to keep silent all the time, and in the bid to do that, it comes with that form of hitting a woman. All those things are not acceptable. Someone slaps someone once, and the slap increased from 1 to 2, and then it increased to a real blow. Hey, talk to someone. Talk to someone. Violence has an history, and then talk to. Yes, that's usually what happens. There is an apology upon apology, and it repeats itself. When we now invariably know someone has lost their life, I say to people, that's the only grant that I don't recommend divorce, but I say to people, if there are traces of violence, I've handled cases where the man threatened that if the woman doesn't leave, is going to pour an acid over her and all that. So she just has to take her things. But I also say today, since you are not picked from the street, either way, if there are issues of violence, the first person you can talk to are your parents. If you talk to your parents, the 2 parents can have a way. And it's also dangerous because we are having these growing issues. Someone is a man, someone is a woman out there. They don't have people that they respect. They don't have people who can talk to them. So I say, if it comes to the issue of threat of life, talk to your parents. Since you are not picked on the street, you can at least, your parents, if they are aware, they can take you in. That's not the end. I recommend that if there is a time of separation, it's for everybody to cool off, come to their senses. And I also recommend counseling. If someone is violent over the other, there is need for that other person who is violent to go for anger management therapy. And it may take time. That doesn't suggest the end of the marriage. It may take time, but the person, it's not just separation. Something must be going on while the 2 people don't have that kind of close proximity. And now, government is so generous about it. There are centers, counseling centers all around us that you don't only report cases of violence, but you also have opportunity for counseling. So, and there are professional counselors who can handle that for anyone going through such thing. But the time of separation should not be left aloof. It should be, you should plug in something. Somebody must be talking to the 2 people who are involved in that marriage.
we're not done with this discussion. To join the conversation on our social media platforms, don't forget to like us on Facebook at Matters of the Heart, tweet at Matters of the Heart, and subscribe to us on YouTube at Matters of the Heart Live. So there is a part 2. Isn't that a good news for everyone?
Yeah.
So we're going to come back on our next episode as we conclude and also delve into this topic, divorce. My name is Sabrina Osman. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Ayo Daniel
for having me.
Okay, so tell them at home that you're coming back, to be sure.
Well, I want to give that word that we'll be back again on the program. And then if you have questions, I'm sure that they can ask you the question.
Yes.
And then against the next program, we can attend to such questions. Thank you for having me.
Thank you
really
so much.
this
It's
time.
Matters of the Heart. Join me on the next episode. Have a great day. And don't forget that life is beautiful. Bye-bye.